15 years of marriage. That's not a small thing. When you spend almost half your life with someone, they become your world. Emily was my world. I thought nothing could break us. I believed in us more than anything else in life. We met when we were young, barely out of college. I was this ambitious guy with big dreams. She was the girl who saw something in me when I had nothing but hope in my pocket. She stood by me when times were tough, celebrated when things finally started getting better. If you had asked me a year ago, I'd have sworn on everything I hold sacred that we were unshakable. When I think back to those early days, it feels like a movie. Late-night drives, cheap takeout dinners, planning a future in a tiny apartment that barely had space for a bed and a couch. We didn't care. We were happy because we had each other. I remember our wedding day like it happened yesterday. How she walked down the aisle, that nervous smile, and how my heart almost burst out of my chest seeing her in that dress. 15 years later, I could still picture her like that. I loved her that much. Life wasn't always perfect, but we made it work. We fought sometimes like all couples do, but we never went to bed angry. At least that was our rule. For a long time we were a team against the world. We built a home together, we raised 2 amazing kids, and we created a life that most people would envy. Friends would always tell us, "You two are couple goals." We'd laugh about it, but secretly I felt proud. Proud that I had someone like her by my side. She was beautiful, still is, kind, funny, and the kind of woman who lights up every room she walks into. Even after 15 years, we had our little rituals. Friday movie nights, Sunday morning pancakes with the kids. Random texts in the middle of the day just to say, "I love you." She'd leave me notes in my work bag sometimes, little things like, "Don't forget you're amazing." Those small gestures kept me grounded. They reminded me that despite the chaos of life, love was still the center of everything. But if I'm honest, the last year started to feel different. Not broken, just off. Life got busy. I was working more, trying to keep up with the demands of my job. She was managing the house, the kids, and on top of that she got really into fitness. First I thought it was great. She wanted to feel healthy, look her best, and I supported her completely. We even joked about me joining her at the gym, but work always got in the way. I never imagined something so innocent could lead to what came next. She started spending more time out of the house, mostly at the gym or with her new fitness friends. She talked about it all the time, the classes, the routines, the trainers. I didn't think much of it because Emily had always been sociable. She loved making new friends. So when she mentioned this new trainer who was helping her with her workouts, I barely paid attention. She said his name casually like it was no big deal. Marcus. Just another name in a long list of people she'd met through the gym. I didn't think anything of it then. Why would I? I trusted her completely. Looking back now, I wonder if I was blind or just naive. Maybe a bit of both. There were signs, tiny ones, things most people would dismiss as harmless. She started dressing differently when she went out. New workout clothes, nicer ones than before. A little extra makeup, even though she claimed it was just for me. I remember one night she walked out in these black leggings and a fitted top, and I told her she looked amazing. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek and said, "Thanks, babe." I didn't see anything wrong with it then. She was my wife. She deserved to feel good about herself. But somewhere deep down I felt a shift. It wasn't obvious. Just a subtle change in the way she carried herself. More confident, maybe. Or maybe it was the way she seemed. Distracted sometimes, like her mind was somewhere else even when we were in the same room. I told myself it was nothing. Stress, maybe. Or just me overthinking because work had been eating me alive. So I let it go. I trusted her. After all, this was Emily. My Emily. The woman who shared my dreams, my struggles, my life. If someone had told me back then what was coming, I would have laughed in their face. Because in my head, betrayal wasn't something that could ever happen to us. We were solid. Stronger than most couples. We had history, memories, love. We weren't the kind of people who throw all that away. At least that's what I believed. And then came the day that changed everything. It didn't start with a fight or an argument. Started like any other day. I went to work, kissed her goodbye like I always did. She smiled, said, "Love you, see you tonight," like always. There was no warning, no storm cloud hanging over our heads. Just an ordinary morning. But somewhere in the middle of that ordinary day, a seed of doubt planted itself in my mind. Something someone said. Something I overheard. Something small, but enough to make me question the one thing I never thought I'd have to question, her. That's when I heard the name again. Marcus. And for the first time it didn't sound like just a name anymore. It sounded like a door I didn't want to open, but couldn't ignore. Marcus wasn't a stranger anymore. His name started coming up more often in casual conversations with Emily. Marcus said this. Marcus showed me a new workout. First it felt harmless. People talk about their trainers all the time, right? But it was the way she said his name. Light in her voice, a little too cheerful. I told myself it was nothing. She was happy about her progress, proud of what she was achieving. Why shouldn't she share that with me? Still, something about it stayed in the back of my mind. When I asked about her gym sessions, she suddenly had a lot more detail than usual. What exercises they did, what music was playing, even what Marcus joked about. It felt strange because Emily never used to talk about people from the gym before. She was sharing things I didn't even ask for. I wanted to see it as excitement, but a part of me started feeling like a stranger listening to my wife talk about another man. One night, I casually asked if she could show me some of the exercises Marcus taught her. Her response was quick, almost defensive. "You wouldn't like it, babe. It's too intense." That bothered me more than I admitted. It wasn't just what she said. It was how fast she said it, like she wanted to shut that conversation down before it went anywhere. But I laughed it off, didn't press, because I didn't want to be that jealous husband who made something out of nothing. Over the next few weeks, her schedule started shifting. Longer gym sessions. Sometimes she'd say she was going for a class, but it'd stretch into hours. When I asked, she always had an explanation ready. Traffic, grabbing a smoothie, talking with friends. And her phone. God, her phone never left her hand anymore. I'd wake up at night and see her screen light up. She'd tilt it away when I turned over. "Just checking the time," she'd whisper. I wanted to believe her. I really did. It wasn't just the phone. Her attitude was changing. She was more distant some days, overly sweet on others, like she was overcompensating. Sex became different. Either she wasn't interested, or when we did, it felt rushed, disconnected. I tried talking to her once, asking if everything was okay, if maybe I'd been too busy with work. She smiled, kissed me, and said, "You're imagining things. Everything's fine." I wanted to take her word for it. But deep down, I knew everything wasn't fine. The first real red flag hit me like a truck. A friend of ours, Sarah, bumped into Emily one afternoon. Later that day, Sarah casually mentioned, "Oh, I saw Emily at that cafe downtown. She looked great." Who was the guy she was with? He looked like he could be a model. Froze. "What guy?" asked. Sarah looked surprised. "Tall, super fit, black guy. I thought he was one of your friends." My stomach dropped. She didn't know Marcus's name, but she described him perfectly. I didn't confront Emily right away. I wanted to. Every bone in my body screamed to ask her then and there. But something stopped me. Fear, maybe. Fear of hearing something I couldn't unhear. So I played it cool, or at least tried to. That night I casually asked about her day. She told me she went to the gym, then ran errands. No mention of a cafe. No mention of Marcus. She lied to my face, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt the ground under me start to crack. From that moment I started noticing more. Her gym bag smelled like cologne sometimes, not mine. She started wearing perfume to the gym, which she never did before. And her text. God, the way her phone would blow up and she'd smile at the screen, then quickly lock it when I walked by. I wasn't stupid. I knew something was happening. I just didn't want to admit it. Because admitting it meant everything I believed about us was a lie. I tried giving her the benefit of the doubt, even then. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe Marcus was just a friend, a trainer who happened to be charismatic. But my gut told me otherwise. My gut told me my wife wasn't just working on her fitness. She was working on an exit from our marriage, or at least from the man she promised to love forever. I started losing sleep. Every time she left the house, I wondered who she was really with. Every time her phone buzzed, it felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. The worst part, I couldn't talk to anyone about it. How do you even start that conversation? Hey, I think my wife of 15 years might be cheating on me with her trainer. It sounded pathetic, desperate. So I kept it to myself, letting it eat me alive from the inside. Smiling at work, pretending everything was fine at home, while my world was quietly falling apart behind closed doors. One night I decided to test her. I asked if she wanted to skip the gym and have a date night instead. Just us. She hesitated, then said she couldn't. She'd already committed to a class. I pushed a little, told her we hadn't gone out in a while. She got defensive, almost irritated. You know how important this is to me. Why are you trying to make me feel guilty? That shut me up real quick. Because now it wasn't just about fitness. It was about her choosing something or someone over me. That was the night I stopped pretending. The night I realized the woman I loved might not be mine anymore. I didn't have proof yet, but I didn't need it. I could feel it in my bones. Something was happening between Emily and Marcus. Something that had no business existing in a marriage like ours. And as much as I wanted to look away, I knew I couldn't. Not anymore. The night I decided to find out the truth, I felt sick to my stomach. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was weeks of sleepless nights, weeks of watching her smile at her phone and wondering if that smile was meant for someone else. I hated myself for what I was about to do because I'd always believed that trust was sacred. But she broke that first, not me. At least that's what I kept telling myself as I reached for her phone when she went to take a shower. Her passcode hadn't changed in years, and that almost gave me hope. Almost. When I unlocked it, my hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. I opened her messages, scrolled past the usual names, and there it was. Marcus. A simple name that hit me like a hammer to the chest. I tapped on it, praying I wouldn't find what I knew I was going to find. And then I saw everything. It wasn't just flirtation. It was explicit. Messages about missing each other. About the way he made her feel. Photos, God, the photos. Her in outfits I'd never seen, selfies she never sent me. And his pictures too. Shirtless. Flexing. Comments that made me want to put my fist through a wall. But the part that broke me wasn't the pictures. It was the words. I've never felt this alive in years. You make me feel things I didn't know I still could. 15 years of love, history, sacrifices. And she was telling another man he made her feel alive. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, my vision blurred. My hands were shaking so violently the phone almost slipped from my grip. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash the phone into a million pieces. But all I did was sit there on the edge of the bed, staring at words that ripped my soul apart one sentence at a time. Every memory we ever shared replayed in my head like some cruel joke. Our wedding vows. The times we held each other through storms. The nights we whispered promises in the dark. All of it meant nothing now. She walked back into the room, wrapped in a towel, humming like everything was normal. I don't know how I kept my voice steady when I asked, "Who's Marcus, really?" She froze. Just for a second, but I saw it. The color drained from her face, her smile vanished. Then she tried to play dumb. "What do you mean?" My voice cracked as I held up the phone. "Don't lie to me. I know everything." Her eyes filled with panic, and that was all the confirmation I needed. She tried to grab the phone. Pulled it away. My voice was shaking, but the anger boiling inside me gave it strength. "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long, Emily?" Tears welled up in her eyes and finally she whispered, "A few months." Few months. Just like that, 15 years of marriage collapsed in 3 words. I felt something inside me die. Asked her why. God help me, I needed to know why. She broke down, sobbing, saying things that cut deeper than any knife. I didn't plan this. I felt invisible. I wanted to feel desired again. He made me feel alive. Alive. That word again. I wanted to scream. I gave you everything. How was that not enough? But the words got stuck in my throat. I just stood there, looking at the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, and realized I didn't know her at all. She said it wasn't about love, that it was just excitement, something different. Like that made it any better. Like reducing our life together to a temporary thrill made the betrayal easier to swallow. I asked her if she loved him. She swore she didn't. She said it was just physical, just attention, just a mistake that went too far. A mistake. That's what she called it. A mistake that took planning, secrecy, lies. A mistake that involved sneaking around, deleting messages, looking me in the eye every day while telling me she loved me. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. It was either laugh or completely lose my mind. She got down on her knees, begging me not to leave, begging me to forgive her. Her tears didn't move me. Not anymore. I had cried enough for both of us in the last 10 minutes. I felt empty. Like someone had ripped my soul out and left a hollow shell in its place. I wanted to hurt her the way she hurt me. I wanted her to feel the same pain that was tearing me apart from the inside. But all I could do was stand there, broken, while she begged for something she didn't deserve anymore. I asked her if it was over with him. She said yes, swore on everything that it was done. That it didn't mean anything. That she still loved me. Loved me. I wanted to throw those words back in her face. Because if this was love, then I didn't want it. I didn't want any part of it. But I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. I just walked out of the room, leaving her sobbing on the floor, and locked myself in the guest room. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every detail of the last few months. Every late gym session. Every lie. Every smile she gave me while giving herself to someone else behind my back. I felt rage, sorrow, humiliation. Every emotion crashing into me at once until I thought I'd lose my mind. I didn't know what to do. Leave. Stay. Burn everything to the ground. The only thing I knew for sure was that nothing would ever be the same again. Not tomorrow. Not ever. I didn't sleep that night. I don't even know if I blinked. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how 15 years could shatter so fast. I heard her crying in the other room. But it didn't matter. Those tears weren't for me. They were for the life she destroyed. When the sun came up, nothing felt real. The house was quiet, like even the walls knew what happened. I got up, packed a small bag, and sat on the edge of the bed trying to figure out where I'd go. But I didn't move. I couldn't. Leaving wasn't as simple as walking out the door. There were kids. There was history. There was everything we built together. And I didn't know if I was ready to burn it all down. She came in that morning, eyes swollen from crying, looking like a stranger in the same body. She sat across from me and whispered, "Please don't leave me." I didn't answer. I didn't even look at her. Because if I did, I'd break all over again. She said she ended it with him. Deleted his number, blocked him on everything. Swore it was over. I wanted to believe her, but belief is a luxury you lose the moment someone betrays you like that. Once the trust is gone, what's left? Promises mean nothing now. Words mean nothing. Only actions, and even those feel like lies waiting to happen. She kept talking, saying it was a mistake, that she lost herself, that she didn't know why she did it. I wanted to scream. You didn't lose yourself. You made a choice. Over and over again. But I stayed quiet because I was too tired to fight. Too broken to argue. Instead, I asked her one question. If you felt invisible, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you give me a chance before giving yourself to him? She had no answer. Just tears and excuses that sounded like static in my ears. Days went by like that. Awkward silence, forced conversations, pretending for the kids. I hated every second of it. I hated waking up in a house that didn't feel like home anymore. I hated looking at her and seeing every lie, every message, every moment she chose him over me. But most of all, I hated myself for still loving her. For still wanting to fix something that might already be dead. People think betrayal kills love instantly, but it doesn't. That's the cruel part. You can hate what they did and still ache for what you had. And that ache is worse than the anger. I started thinking about divorce. Googled lawyers late at night when she was asleep. Looked at apartments, tried to picture myself living alone. But then I thought about our kids. How they'd look at me, how they'd look at her. How their entire world would collapse because of a choice they didn't make. And I froze. Because leaving felt like punishment for them, not just for her. That's the trap of a long marriage. You're so tangled together that even when someone cuts the rope, you're still tied in 1,000 invisible knots. Friends started noticing something was off. I lied to them, said work was stressful. How do you tell someone the person you trusted most destroyed you? How do you admit that while everyone thought you had the perfect marriage, you were living in a nightmare you couldn't wake up from? Couldn't do it. So I carried it alone, smiling in public while falling apart in private. She, on the other hand, was doing everything to make it right. Cooking my favorite meals, leaving notes again, saying she loved me every chance she got. It all felt fake. Like she was trying to erase the past with band-aids. But some wounds don't heal. They stay open no matter how much you cover them. One night, she asked me if I could ever forgive her. I stared at her for a long time before answering. I don't know. And that's the truth. I don't know if forgiveness is even possible after this. Because forgiveness doesn't erase the images burned into my head. It doesn't make me forget the words she wrote to him, the feelings she gave him that should have been mine. Forgiveness doesn't rebuild trust. It just means you're willing to live with the pain. And I don't know if I am. She promised she'd never hurt me again. That she'd spend the rest of her life proving it. But promises are cheap after you've watched them burn. So I told her this. I'm not making any decisions today. Or tomorrow. But if you ever talk to him again, even once, we're done. Her face crumpled, and she nodded like her life depended on it. Maybe it does. I don't know. All I know is that I can't go back to the way things were. That version of us is dead. Whatever comes next will never be the same. It's been weeks since that day, and I still don't have answers. Some mornings I wake up and think maybe we can rebuild. Other days I want to pack my bags and never look back. I wonder if time can really fix something this broken, or if I'm just delaying the inevitable. I look at her and see two people, the woman I loved and the woman who betrayed me, and I can't tell which one is real anymore. So here I am, pouring this out to strangers because I have nowhere else to put it. I don't know if anyone can understand what it feels like to have your entire world flipped upside down in one night. Question every word, every touch, every memory. To lie awake wondering if the person lying next to you is still yours or just wearing the mask of who they used to be. What would you do? Walk away from 15 years and start over? Or stay and try to glue the pieces back together, knowing the cracks will always show? I keep asking myself that, and no matter how many times I run it through my head, I still don't have an answer.